The day the sky cracked open did not begin with thunder, explosions, or the usual theatrics that humans imagined would accompany the end of their world. Instead, it began with an eerie stillness, a breath held by the earth itself, as if every continent and creature sensed something ancient and immense shifting above them. At exactly 4:22 p.m. GMT, all wind stopped. Birds froze midair as if confused by an invisible wall. Clouds spread apart in unnatural symmetry, revealing a vertical slit of brilliant silver light stretching across the sky, like a wound glowing from within. For 3 full seconds, humanity stared in collective silence, recording videos, whispering prayers, shouting theories, or simply standing still because their minds refused to accept what they were seeing. Then the slit widened, folding itself into a doorway big enough to swallow mountains, and through that doorway emerged something so large that satellites lost calibration trying to measure it. A vessel, not a ship, because no human language had a word big enough glided forward without sound. It was shaped like a cathedral made of liquid starlight, shifting and reforming, its surface rippling like the surface of deep water under moonlight. Nations panicked. Governments scrambled. News networks crashed under the weight of billions refreshing their screens. Scientists argued in trembling voices. Spiritual leaders fainted. Children cried. Dogs barked at the sky. And still, the vessel descended, silently, slowly, almost peacefully, its presence neither hostile nor comforting, merely inevitable. And then, without warning, 10 beams of soft blue light shot downward, striking 10 completely random locations on Earth. A bus stop in Brazil, a wheat field in Kansas, a crowded market in Lagos, a fishing boat near the Philippines, a school hallway in Tokyo, a rooftop in Cairo, a subway platform in London, a monastery in Nepal, a desert motorway in Saudi Arabia, and a hospital waiting room in Mexico City. Where the beams touched, time stuttered. For everyone except 10 specific humans, time stopped. Hearts froze mid-beat. Children stood suspended mid-step. Raindrops hung in the air like glass beads. The 10 chosen ones found themselves able to move, look around, breathe, scream, or whisper, though their voices made no sound. A strange pull, a gentle pressure, like a parent guiding a child, lifted them slowly upward. They did not rise quickly. They drifted, as if gravity had politely stepped aside. They passed the reaching hands of frozen crowds, rose above rooftops, glided past the underbellies of clouds, and ascended straight into the silver wound in the sky. Each of the 10 saw a flash of images not their own, faces of beings with luminous eyes, cities built on floating rings of sapphire forests, glowing with internal light oceans that shimmered like silver ink temples shaped like spirals of living metal. These visions were brief but overwhelming, like dreams injected directly into their consciousness. When they reached the vessel, the doorway closed behind them, sealing Earth out with a whisper so soft it felt like the universe exhaling. Inside, there were no corridors, no rooms, just a vast expanse of shifting color and fractal light, where the walls moved like memories and the floor pulsed with gentle warmth. The atmosphere tasted faintly of mint and rain, though none of the 10 knew how they could taste air at all. They hovered, floating in a chamber too huge for human comprehension. Then the beings arrived. They did not walk. They unfolded like origami made of stars revealing tall, slender shapes with skin like pearlescent mist and eyes that contained entire orbital systems. Their voices did not come from mouths, but from vibrations in the air, resonating directly in the human minds. "Do not be afraid," the beings said, though the message felt like a warm wave rather than sound. "You are chosen not for punishment, not for sacrifice, but for understanding. The universe has watched your world for longer than you can imagine." One of the humans, a 50-year-old taxi driver from London, managed to stammer, "Why?" "Why us?" The beings responded slowly, as if shaping each thought with care. "Because humanity does not yet understand what humanity is." They lifted their hands, and the chamber changed. The humans found themselves standing on a platform above a sweeping alien world, mountains shaped like spirals, rivers glowing emerald at night, cities hovering weightlessly above plains of floating crystals. The beings continued. We have chosen 10 of you to learn, to be mirrors, to show us who you are beneath the surface." The 10 humans exchanged confused glances. They thought they were chosen for wisdom, diplomacy, culture, but they were not prepared for what would unfold. The aliens guided them through crystalline cities, luminescent gardens, sky bridges woven from energy strands, and a central library containing living archives that rearranged themselves according to the heart of the reader. Everywhere, the aliens observed the 10 humans with gentle curiosity, but the humans, overwhelmed, frightened, distrustful, and stubbornly clinging to old habits, began to reveal something very different from what the aliens expected. They whispered among themselves. They questioned motives. They lied to each other about what they had seen. They formed alliances, broke them, blamed each other for imagined offenses, tried to manipulate alien guides, and competed for attention. The aliens watched in silent, growing confusion as the humans demonstrated not unity or wisdom, but suspicion, ego, and deceit. By the end of the first night aboard the vessel, the aliens realized something. Humanity's most powerful weapon was not intelligence or cooperation. It was the ability to twist truth until it served desire. The 10 humans did not realize they were teaching the aliens something far darker than the aliens had intended to learn. And though the aliens were patient beyond human measure, something unsettling began to shift in their calculations. Humanity was not just unpredictable. Humanity was dangerous. And that was only the beginning. The first week on the alien world began with harmony, curiosity, and gentle wonder, but it did not stay that way. Aliens, beings older than human civilization itself, believed they were receiving 10 ambassadors of human nature, 10 windows into humanity's heart. What they got instead were 10 exhausted, frightened, imperfect individuals who carried not the best of Earth, but the ordinary struggles found in every society: insecurity, jealousy, fear, pride. And when placed in a world so strange, where their every action was observed, these flaws intensified like sparks thrown into a dry forest. The aliens saw it first in small moments. On the third day, a disagreement broke out among the humans over a simple bowl of alien fruit-floating orbs that glowed like warm lanterns. The aliens believed these fruits fostered shared understanding, so they offered them freely. But one human, a businessman from Cairo, hoarded several for himself, claiming falsely that the aliens said he needed more for energy stability. A young woman from Tokyo called him out. The businessman denied it instantly, then counter-accused her of spying on him. 2 others defended him. Another 2 sided with her. What began as a misunderstanding transformed into a shouting match so intense that the aliens halted the fruit program entirely, baffled by how a gift meant to unify had somehow ignited division. The aliens tried again, observing patiently. They created group tasks, simple things meant to nurture cooperation. A puzzle of levitating stones designed to produce a beautiful melody when aligned. A glowing tapestry that revealed a picture only when 10 hands worked together. But humans rarely work together evenly. If one figured out part of the solution, they hid it. If another offered help, they were ignored. Some argued about whose ideas mattered. Others simply stood aside, unwilling to contribute if they felt unappreciated. The tapestry stayed dim. The stones never sang. The aliens, beings who solved interstellar problems by collective harmony, watched in astonished silence. To them, humanity behaved like a storm that could not see its own lightning. Over time, the humans began teaching the aliens unintentionally the concepts of lying, jealousy, manipulation, rivalry, resentment, and worst of all, betrayal. Concepts the aliens had almost no cultural framework for. One evening, during a twilight session beneath a floating garden, an alien guide named Saruan asked a simple question: why do humans sometimes say words they do not believe? The answer came from an American teen, Marcus, who laughed and said, "Because sometimes lying is easier." Saruan blinked, processing. Easier? But it harms trust. Why choose a path that breaks the bond between minds? Marcus shrugged. Because we don't always care about that. The alien guide fell silent. That night, Saruan wrote the word lie into the living archive. The archive dimmed something it had never done before. Day by day, the lessons darkened. A nurse from Mexico taught the aliens about envy without intending to. She admired the shimmering alien architecture but complained bitterly that others received more attention than she did. A fisherman from the Philippines taught them resentment when he sabotaged another human's tasks because he felt overlooked. A programmer from Nepal unintentionally taught them paranoia, convinced the aliens were judging him more harshly than the others. The businessman taught manipulation, the teenager taught competitiveness, the schoolteacher taught quiet bitterness, the monk taught disappointment in oneself, the mechanic taught distrust, the college student taught passive hostility. None of them wanted to bring out the dark side of humanity. But fear, confusion, and survival instincts twisted their behavior. And the aliens were listening, observing, learning. The aliens had no word for hate before the humans arrived. They had no term for jealousy, no symbol for spite, no gesture for deception. These were not part of their evolutionary path. Their species survived by unity, collective survival, shared emotion. They had never evolved the psychological architecture that humans carried like shadows in their DNA, so when humans expressed these emotions, the aliens took notes with scientific precision, trying to understand. They treated human flaws as mysteries. But mysteries slowly turned into warnings. As the days passed, an unsettling pattern emerged. The aliens began to mistrust each other. A small misunderstanding between two alien guides, something that would normally dissolve in a few polite thoughts, suddenly escalated. One alien believed another had spoken with favoritism. Another felt unappreciated. These words were foreign but powerful, like viruses slipping into a flawless immune system. Within days, the alien city, once perfectly harmonious, showed its first signs of emotional friction. A disagreement here, a lingering resentment there. Conversations thickened with questions like, "Are you sure you're telling the truth? Why did you speak with him and not me? Are you hiding information?" The humans did not see the shift, but the aliens did, and they were scared. One night, the alien Grand Council formed, glowing softly beneath the towering spires of their world tree. Their faces flickered with unease. They reviewed images of human interactions, the lies, the arguments, the manipulation. "We brought them to learn harmony," one alien said, its voice trembling like wind chimes. "Instead, we are learning division," another added softly. "Perhaps humanity is not dangerous because it is powerful, but because it does not understand the weight of its own shadow." The council listened as the living archive replayed the moment Marcus taught them about lying. Then the moment the businessman convinced others to distrust their peers. Then the moment two humans argued over a misunderstanding that never existed. One alien finally whispered the thought. None dared speak. If these 10 can disrupt an entire world in 10 days, what would billions do? The question hung in the air like a storm about to break. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the alien world trembled. By the 14th day, the alien world felt heavier, as if the sky itself had begun lowering inch by inch. The glowing towers that once pulsed with gentle harmony flickered uncertainly. The great world tree, whose leaves shimmered with shared emotion, rustled with unfamiliar tension. Across the crystalline bridges and floating courtyards, whispers moved like shadows, quiet, nervous, unsteady. The humans sensed something was wrong, but they could not understand how deeply their presence had reshaped the alien society. What they mistook for coldness was actually fear. Fear of themselves. Fear of the new emotions that had seeped into their minds. Fear of the dark human truths they had absorbed like unfiltered radiation. The aliens convened the Grand Council once again, but this time behind sealed barriers of shimmering light. Their voices no longer rang with unity, they wavered. The elder, Saron, stood before the council, his once luminous eyes dimmed with sorrow. "We believed humanity would show us paths to resilience, creativity, and adaptation," he said. "But what they have taught us..." threatens the balance our world has protected for millennia. He projected memory spheres into the air scenes of human conflict, jealousy, suspicion, and manipulation. The council members winced as each memory unfolded like a wound reopening. One alien murmured, "We have learned things we cannot unlearn." Another added, "Their lessons are powerful, too powerful. They pull at the mind like gravity." A third whispered, "Our unity has cracks now. Their emotions multiply like spores. If we do not act, our civilization will fracture." The council fell silent, every member thinking the same thing but fearing to speak it. Finally, Serwin said the words that ended the debate. "We must send them home, for our sake. And for theirs." The aliens approached the humans gently, though their steps were slow and deliberate, like healers approaching a dangerous patient. The humans were gathered in the circle of floating stones when the aliens arrived. Marcus straightened nervously. The businessman crossed his arms defensively. The schoolteacher asked, "Is something wrong?" But it was the monk who sensed the truth before anyone else. He bowed his head and whispered, "They are afraid." Sirwan raised his hand and the stones lowered, forming a grounded platform. His voice, always so calming, now shook. "We brought you here believing humanity had reached a dawn of wisdom. We wish to learn your resilience, your creativity, your strength of spirit." He paused, searching for words. "But instead, we have learned the shadows you carry, and our minds are not designed to hold such shadows." One of the humans asked quietly, "Are you saying we harmed you?" Sirwan did not accuse. He did not blame. Instead, he answered with gentle truth, "You taught us what you are. Not because you wish to, but because you cannot separate yourselves from the storms inside you." The silence that followed was suffocating. "We do not hate you," Sirwan continued. "We did not bring you here to judge you. But your emotions, your instincts, lying, jealousy, rivalry, mistrust, these are storms that shaped your evolution. We are not shaped to withstand them. They are tearing at the pillars of our harmony." Marcus swallowed hard. The businessman looked away. The schoolteacher started to cry silently. Sirwan stepped forward, glowing softly. "We will not punish you. We will not ask you to change. But we cannot hold you here any longer. Your presence is altering us. And if we keep learning from you, we will lose ourselves." A portal began to form behind the council, a swirling field of light the color of dawn and deep ocean. The humans stared into its shifting radiance, realizing this was their way home. But the monk raised his voice softly. "Before we leave, will you forget us?" His tone held sorrow, like someone asking if a friend would erase all memory of them. Sirwan touched his own chest. "We do not forget. Even now, the shadows you showed us live in us. We will spend generations learning how to transform them into wisdom." He looked at Marcus. "Humans are not only what we saw, but you have not yet learned how to choose your better selves. When you do, perhaps our paths will cross again." One by one, the humans approached the portal. Each walked slower than the last, carrying guilt heavier than their own weight. Marcus hesitated the longest. He turned to the aliens and said, "You saw us at our worst." Sirwan answered gently, "We saw you as you truly are. But that also means we saw who you can become." Marcus nodded with trembling breath and stepped into the light. As the last human crossed through, the portal closed like a sunrise folding into darkness, leaving only a soft echo in the air. The aliens stood in absolute silence, absorbing the weight of what had happened. Their world had been cracked but not broken, frightened but wiser. The emotions the humans brought were like fire, destructive when uncontrolled, but powerful if mastered. Sirwan turned to the council and whispered, "The humans are dangerous because they feel deeply. But perhaps that is their strength as well. One day, if they learn to wield their shadows, they may become the greatest force for harmony in the universe. But for now, Earth received its travelers back 10 humans who returned not as ambassadors, but as mirrors reflecting humanity's deepest flaws. And though the world did not know where they had been, each carried a memory of an alien civilization that feared not humanity's weapons, but humanity's nature. And somewhere far across the stars, the aliens began the long, difficult work of healing from the dark lessons they never asked to learn.